The Sandy Beret of the Special Air Service is one of the most sought-after ranks in the Australian military. Yet the elite regiment is also the most secretive. We rarely get a glimpse of the work done both at home and abroad. But now a new documentary series examines the history of the SAS and includes some startling revelations about the many risks they face. Hayden Cooper reports.
In the deserts of Afghanistan, Australian Special Forces uncover a major find, a huge stash of Taliban weapons.
Boys got a fair bit of kit in there. Bloody few thousand RPG rockets.
No Taliban here.
These pictures are filmed by the soldiers themselves in the early days of the war.
He's found a few grenades. Certainly got some kit here.
Having found them, they prepare to destroy them.
You set up the blow. This is the smallest one of the two.
And it's going to be a ripper.
It's going to be a ripper.
There she goes.
Whoa!
The vision gives a rare insight into the work of Australia's elite military force.
Go. Open door, man. Go.
For the SAS is as secretive as it is deadly, and access like this is rare. Scores of current and former SAS men opened up about their experiences.
We felt fear, terror, and there were times often where men used to stop in their tracks and start to shake because of the close proximity of the enemy.
Over 6 decades, the SAS has been at the forefront of most major conflicts, from the Malaya War against Indonesia to the jungles of Vietnam, where small groups of SAS soldiers blended into the surrounds, to the modern days of anti-terrorism, Iraq and Afghanistan. But often just getting into the regiment is the hardest part. Less than a quarter of those who try succeed.
To get through that course, I'd consider as one of the great achievements of my early days.
Probably one of the hardest things that I've done in my life, without doubt.
Rowan Tink commanded Australia's SAS squadrons in Afghanistan at the start of the war, doing work that impressed the Allies.
Our patrols remained in the field, often within the snow line, at high altitude, up around 10 to 11,000 feet, for a period of up to 2 weeks, and were not relieved. And that was an important role in securing the southern flank of the Shahi Kaut Valley. We were very good at reporting what we were seeing, where we were seeing it in detail, and in some particular cases, I remember Americans being absolutely astounded at the level of information that we were handing into their intelligence system.
Lieutenant Colonel Tink was awarded one of the US's highest military honours, the Bronze Star. He now works in the private sector and reflects openly on some of the major risks that threatened to bring the regiment undone.
Technology almost got ahead of the military in Afghanistan.
By that he means friendly fire. Looking back, he believes American air power was one of the biggest threats to the small Australian SAS teams. He recounts one occasion when the Americans, using their J-STARS surveillance system, reported 17 enemy tanks moving towards the Australians.
As it turned out, that information had come from J-STARS, and after a short while, we went to validate it to find out what had happened to these armoured vehicles, and we discovered that indeed what J-STARS had picked up had been 17 poplar trees.
But by then, the Americans had called in an airstrike. The SAS only averted it at the last minute.
Our duty officer applied a bearing to their sighting and discovered that it went right into where our Land Rovers were. Now, I would like to suggest that therein lay one very fortunate control measure which probably saved the lives of a number of our soldiers.
But any study of this top-level unit raises inevitable questions, like is it relied on too much? From the gruelling selection course through to wartime service, SAS soldiers bear a heavy load. Sergeant Blaine Diddams, the latest Australian casualty in Afghanistan, was on his 7th deployment. Major General Michael Jeffrey, a former SAS commander, believes it's something the top brass need to watch.
It's got to be the higher commanders, the commanding officers and so on, who monitor this very, very carefully, and if necessary say to an SAS soldier, well, I'm sorry Charlie, you're not doing this one. You're going to spend 6 months at home and training and so on, and then we might look at you going back to Afghanistan or wherever.
Often the first in and the last out of any conflict, the SAS will likely stay on in Afghanistan after most Australian soldiers come home by the end of next year.
Really interesting insight. Hayden Cooper reporting.